the way I broke it down for myself, and this probably not the correct way to do it, but this is how it made me feel better, is I knew I needed about 70 questions right to get a passing score. I'd heard it several times throughout the course and throughout the interviews. You need to know conceptually why you're doing things, and I found out why when I got into the FE about it's all conceptual just about. Oh, your computer based simulated exams, I will say, were on point. Like they were so close to the real thing that I was like I had no because I heard some people talk like they get in there and it's like, oh, it's like it's set up weird. It's like they don't know how to do it. It's like the way that you have your simulated test set up, it's like almost identical. So that's really good.
The urgency is because before the end of the year, you wanted to have this achievement under your belt and sort of prove to your employer as well, and then continue the momentum.
So the reason behind the short time frame is because when I took this role, I took a lower salary coming in than the average, but it's because I had a 6-year gap in my resume for any engineering thing. So it's like they were kind of taking a chance on me, and at the same time, I wanted to prove myself that like I do work hard. I work hard. I know if I don't know something, I'll figure it out. I'll ask. I'll do whatever it takes to get it done.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Wasim.
How's it going?
Good. Doing real well.
Congratulations, Chris, on passing your FE electrical and computer exam in the first attempt. Me, using the on-demand course and live training for the most part, you were using it offline. Great achievement, and I can clearly see how happy you are.
Oh yeah.
And you have pulled the trigger on PE Power right away, and you've started your PE Power exam preparation as well. So let us go through your exam preparation journey. It's very interesting. It's very exciting. Lots of ups and downs. So how about you walk me through since you graduated? When did you graduate, and how did you get onto this journey of PE licensing?
Yeah, so I was supposed to graduate in 2009. I dropped out, did 4 years in the military, came back, and ended up graduating in 2013. So in reality, it had been about 15 years since I had seen most of the material on the FE. And out of the military, I went into manufacturing. Not a real use for a PE license there, so it never like really was on my radar to do it. Fast forward, I moved to Florida around 2016 and got into design for the first time. And that was the first time I was exposed to a company that was like, "Hey, we'd like you to get your FE." I thought about it, didn't really interest me at the time, and so ended up leaving that job after a couple years. Started my own business, ran my own business, a little manufacturing business for about 6 years. Then decided to come back into the engineering world and came back to an MEP firm. And the first thing they asked me during my interview was, do you have your EIT? And I was like, no. They're like, are you going to take your FE exam? And I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And then it wasn't very long into the company that I realized, oh, this is a big deal. Like, this is like, they really want me to have this. And then I saw like that the PEs in the company, like they're held at a different level to everybody else. And so I saw it and I was like, this is definitely something I want to do. And the more I learned about it, the more I was like, I'm definitely going this route. And I started out just kind of like asking around, like, what do you do? Like, what do you use to study for it? Because I was like, I don't know. Like, it's been 15 years since I've seen most of this stuff. So I got one of the books, the little green and yellow book that everybody gets. I went through it for a couple of weeks and it just wasn't the way I learned. Like just reading through something, doing something. I was like, I need like a classroom setting, something structured that's like going to walk me through it. How do you do this? And I started Googling, and I came across several reviews for you on Reddit. And I was reading all the reviews, and I was like, this sounds exactly what I need. I need a structured course with some live trainings. And yeah, that was around the time I pulled the trigger and bought your 3-month course, I think. And then when I talked to you, I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the exam in 6 weeks from now. And you're like, yeah, you're like, I don't think that's probably the best idea. You're like, and I was like, no, I think I can do it. And as soon as I get into the material, I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot here. I was like, I need to push this out a little bit. So I still didn't push it out probably as far as I should have. I pushed it out to 9 weeks originally and ended up completing it in 11 weeks overall. And that's one thing I would advise take more time, especially if you've been out of school longer, because I feel like I was this close to like not being ready. Like I definitely needed a little more time, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, that's great. In terms of that timeline, and especially I'd like to unpack the schedule, right? And you did mention that the urgency is because before the end of the year, you wanted to have this achievement under your belt and sort of prove to your employer as well, and then continue the momentum.
So the reason behind the short time frame is because so when I took this role, I took a lower salary coming in than the average, but it's because I had a 6 year gap in my resume for any engineering thing. So it's like they were kind of taking a chance on me, and at the same time, I wanted to prove myself that like I do work hard. I work hard. I know like if I don't know something, I'll figure it out. I'll ask. I'll do whatever it takes to get it done. And so I wanted to be able to, before I hit my 1 year mark, which is at the end of this month, I wanted to have this accomplishment to be like not only have I not missed any deadlines on any projects, I never asked to work remotely, I show up early, but also out of my own time took the time to learn and prepare for this test and ended up passing it before I hit my 1 year mark. So that was my reasoning for the short time frame that I gave myself.
Right. That's really impressive, Chris. So let's talk about the lead up to the exam. So you had been putting in the time and effort, and you had been basically checking in with me, Wasim. Okay, I've completed this much, I've completed this much. And I would look at your progress completion percentage, and I'd be like, Chris, you gotta complete everything 100% before you go into the exam. So you are in Florida, and in the last couple of weeks before your exam, in the last month or so, there were a couple of storms, hurricanes. How did you manage full-time work with all of those? I don't know if you had to relocate, because I believe you had to where you were for safety reasons and whatnot, and then your exam got pushed out. So help me understand how you stayed on track despite all of that turbulence.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely difficult, especially during the two hurricanes. So I started out like you were like it's going to take you 20 to 30 hours a week, and I was like, if you tell me that's how long it's take, I'm like no problem, I'll do it. Like I said, I come from the military background, and you lay it out for me. This is what you got to do. I'm like, all right, this is what I got to do. So just get it done, do it. So I studied like minimum 20 hours a week after work, before work. Like I basically let it like when I go into something, I go fully into it. So like, and that means like even when I'm not studying, I was like listening to your success stories. Like when I'd go like walk or work out, I'd have the success stories playing in my headphones. Like I just wanted to like constantly be on my mind, just constantly, just gives me that motivation. Plus, not only the motivation, like I learned so many tips and tricks that like I took forward into the exam from people doing these interviews. So I was on a roll, doing great. Then hurricane hits like a month before, and that probably threw me off. About the first one threw me off at least a week, like just kind of like having to evacuate, prepping everything, getting the house ready, moving stuff out in case we do get flooded. So I probably lost about a week for the first one. The second one, I was actually it happened the day of my exam, so it was
Wow. Yeah.
and I was like, and I'd gotten a hotel, like I'd gotten a hotel for like 4 days just so I could lock myself away from everybody and just focus on practice tests and going over everything that I was lacking on, just so that like I'd be ready for this test. And then because originally the storm wasn't supposed to be that bad, and then like 2 days before they're like, oh no, this is gonna be real bad. Like you got to get out of here. And so I ended up having to go through the whole process again, like getting the house ready, getting my wife out, getting the dogs out, getting all of our stuff out that we didn't want to get damaged, and that was a pain. That one, the second one, was worse for me mentally because I was like planning on taking the test. I was like ready to go, and then I had to like, oh, now that's over. Now I gotta, and so I lost another week, and then I had to like get my mind back into like, all right, you're getting ready to take this test. You got to prepare for this now. You got to be serious. And so that last week leading up to the test was very very nerve wracking because there was no going in my mind. There was no going back. I wasn't backing out. Like this has got to happen. And I took the practice tests. But before the hurricanes, when I took the practice test, you saw my scores. Like I was doing good on the first half, second half was in like the 40%. And so I just spent that last week that I had just nothing but the second half of the test trying to like bring that score up as much as I could. And luckily pulled it off.
Yeah. I think that, okay, in some sense, maybe you might have gotten lucky with some of the questions, but there's clearly intense amount of effort that went into this process, right? The single-minded focus, and despite all of the setbacks, you kept your eyes on the prize. And as we were discussing, maybe the hurricane, and obviously with all the damage and whatnot, it's not that it's something that you look forward to, but in this context of your exam preparation, that extra week did help you
After
in
two
some
weeks.
sense. 2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? So they
Oh,
did
it helped
help you.
tremendously. I don't honestly I don't think I would have passed it the first time because the sections on the second half of the test, I felt like I was lagging in those, and that extra week just to focus on nothing but those sections. Like control sections was one that I was.
And those are challenging topics. Even new recent grads, power systems focus, everybody finds Bode plot, Bode diagram, this, that, because you don't get to apply that at work, right?
But I spent just 2 days focused on nothing but control systems, and then every control systems. I mean, not just because like I got easy questions or whatever, but I felt like I knew it after just focusing on it for 2 days, and just having that extra 2 weeks, I was able to like pick up that slack on that second half.
That's impressive. So let's talk about some tactics. You mentioned that in terms of during your exam preparation, you benefited from these type of success story interviews. So what strategy? So strategy is probably a broader word, right? Strategy was obviously that you wanted a good exam prep resource. You got yourself my program. You committed to it. You followed the plan to the T, and you're putting in consistent amount of effort. You know, number of hours that I prescribed 20 to 25. So all of that is the bigger strategy. In terms of tactics, let's say how you optimize your daily routine and how you manage your time and energy over this 11-week period. And last thing would probably be time management during the exam. So let's start with your daily routine. Did you have to make significant changes to your daily routine during the course of your exam prep?
Yeah, for sure. So I found out like, and you've talked about this quite a bit in some of your interviews. Like studying at night, I just found like I would do it a lot, but the my mental energy, mental clarity wasn't there. So I got my good study sessions like in the morning before work. So I would show up I don't like studying at home just because I have two dogs. We live in like a small space, and my wife's also getting up getting ready at the same time, so it's just not a good area. So I would just come into work like 2 hours early every morning, and I would still study at night. I'd study on my lunch break sometimes, but mainly like one of the biggest things that I got from you in these interviews was saying you got to manage your energy. And I learned that my energy is a lot higher in the morning. And so take advantage of that time in the morning and do a thing. And then weekends, my weekends were just nothing but study. So I would study from the morning. I would study at minimum probably 6 hours a day on the weekends. And then, and those were literally my best sessions because I'd wake up fresh, just study until time to eat dinner, and I retain so much more when your energy's high.
That's a great advice, and I think I've had some students in these interviews mention that some of the students intentionally would come to work a little bit early, and the work environment, typically the office setting, whether you have your own office or whether you have a cubicle or whatnot, it is optimized for productivity, right? It is optimized, a couple of screens, big desk space, less distraction. So I think that was a very smart move on your end, rather than sort of fighting with the distractions, fighting with the attention, focus, and whatnot, right? You were able to optimize that by changing the environment essentially. And the second thing, you recognize early that morning is the best time, the most productive time for you. In terms of time management and during the exam, how did you manage the time? Did you try and split morning and afternoon half and half, or
Yeah, so my exam, it was not it wasn't perfectly split in half. There was like fewer questions on the morning, but it was pretty close. I think it was like 52 and like 58 or something like that. But my strategy was to go in, knock out the ones that I could like do like that. Just go through those immediately. Just get those done. The second pass hit the ones that like I knew how to do, but I knew they were going to take me a little while to do. And then the third pass was like that was how I did the morning section, and or that's how I did both sections. But the way I broke it down for myself, and this probably not the correct way to do it, but this is how it made me feel better, is I knew I needed about 70 questions right to get a passing score.
Sometimes even more than 70. Depends on the average, yeah.
But you don't know exactly, so this is just what I told myself to like to give me something to go by. So on the morning section was my best section, so I wanted to get as many like that I knew 100% that I knew them. I wanted to get like as many right on the first half that I could. So on the first half, I had flagged 7 questions that I wasn't sure on. So I was like, that leaves me quite a bit of room on the second half to like. So I did the same strategy on the second half, and I ended up flagging about half the questions, I think. But when I went through and I said, okay, if I miss all of these questions that I flagged, I was still right around that 70 question mark. So I felt pretty good about it. And like I said, it's not an exact science, but it was the way that I went about it to kind of make myself to give me some kind of idea of how I did. But the second half definitely a lot more guessing on it.
Yeah, you played it to your strength, right? You made sure that where you could capitalize, you capitalize. And then leading up to the exam, when you did my practice exam, and you found that your second half performance was below average, you compensated for that by spending extra time. So I'm sure you did decent in the second half as well. And how did the exam preparation resources help you, Chris? You being out of school for 15 years, right, technically, and on a fast track in about 11 weeks, getting this done, ups and downs. So how did it streamline your exam preparation? You use my on-demand course, lectures, quizzes, mini exams, as well as the live training, and you were watching the live training recordings.
And the study guide.
And you use the study guide as well, the second edition of this, third edition of the study guide. So how did each one of those resources help you?
Oh, tremendous! I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do it without it. I needed like I said the structured like the just laid out and like clear as day like what I need like what order I need to go in, what I need to learn. Like I said, a lot of these topics I hadn't seen in 15 years, so I was basically like learning it for the first time. And your on demand classes are like great. Like you walk through step by step on like from start to finish. This is why you're doing it. This is how you do it. Oh, that's another thing I should mention. I'd heard it several times throughout the course and throughout the interviews. You need to know conceptually why you're doing things, and I found out why when I got into the FE about it's all conceptual just about. And I didn't realize. So I guess my mistake was I went through about like, oh, solve this problem, solve this problem, solve this problem. It's no, you need to know why you're solving the problem. And I didn't realize I was getting that through your course the whole time, like why you're doing things. Because the way you explain it, you're explaining why you're doing it. But in my mind, I wasn't like I was getting it subconsciously, I guess, but I wasn't thinking about it that way. I was thinking about no, you got to solve this problem, start to finish, and it's like no, you need to know why you're doing it. And then when I saw the questions on the test, I'm like, oh my god, I'm glad I actually understand why I'm doing this. Like the way they word things is so tricky. If you're going about it the way I was originally going about it, just solving this single line problem, then you're not going to be able to do it. You need to know why you're doing it.
Yeah, that's the first principle way of learning, right? Where you're not just mindlessly solving problems, numericals, and crunching the numbers, right? You have a deeper level of understanding as to what is the context in which the question is being asked, what are the keywords, what you can ignore, what you cannot ignore. And if your foundation is strong, no matter how a question is asked, like sometimes when students enroll in my program, they're like, Wasim, fill in the blank questions, multiple choice questions.
Sounds easy.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter how a question is asked as long as you know the topic, you know the concept, you have the knowledge, and most importantly, you know how to apply the knowledge. And that's basically the theme of the entire program, right? Especially in live training, going deeper and deeper.
Oh, your computer based simulated exams, I will say, were on point. Like they were so close to the real thing that I was like I had no like because I heard some people talk like they get in there and it's like oh it's like it's set up weird. It's like they don't know how to do it. It's like the way that you have your simulated test set up. It's like almost identical. So that's really good.
Yeah, the interface, and you get to see 17 mini exams actually throughout. It just becomes second nature, right? You don't have to worry about the interface, flagging the questions and whatnot, and timing. Actually, arguably the most important thing is that becoming comfortable with managing the time, right?
Yeah, I guess I learned how to do that taking your practice exams because I didn't really think about it too much during the actual exam, like focus on like, oh, I only got 3 minutes to solve this, only got 3 minutes to solve this. I didn't really think about it that way. I just went through and I was like, can I solve this quick? No, okay. Will it take me a little time? I wasn't really watching the clock as much. And like every so often I would look up at the clock and be like, oh, I got an hour left. Oh, I got 30 minutes left. And like I wasn't like focused on the clock like religiously. So and I think your practice test helped me with that too, because I kind of already understood how much time I had by going through those. So it was like kind of like intuitive. Like I was like, all right, I know I'm getting close. I know I'm getting close. Okay, look at it. Okay. So I was able to kind of fill it out instead of like watching it constantly.
Right. No, that's amazing, and many congratulations to you, Chris. And you actually signed up for my P Power program even before you got the result for FE. That is a level of confidence that you had, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure that you are going to carry forward that momentum that you've gained in FE and all the best practices and the focus, determination. And within a matter of few months, I am confident that you'll be back here doing a P Power interview with me.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love
Very
to.
soon.
And I'm definitely taking a little longer to prepare for
Of
the P
course,
exam.
yeah. That was my
Because
recommendation because you got a big achievement this year already. So let's pace yourself. And P Power is fun in the sense that since you're working as a power systems engineer, as a design engineer, I'm confident that you will enjoy learning the concepts more deeply. In FE Electrical is a hodgepodge of so many different sections, and it's a bridge that we have to cross, right?
yeah, that's the way I've been looking at it too. It's like the FE. It's like I just need the way I was approaching a lot of it. It's like I just need to get it out of the way. I just need to learn it long enough. But this, it's like I've dove into so far with the PE power. It's like right in line with like what I'm doing day to day. So it's already more enjoyable. And I definitely want to take more time because I don't want to go about it like, oh, I just need to know this for the test. I want to actually learn this and retain it because I'm going to be using it for a long time. So
Exactly. And they've done a great job with the specification for P Power because it is one of the best crash course style review that you can do with while preparing for the P Power exam. And obviously, FE is more general because the goal is different to make sure that they test you in your undergraduate engineering. So look forward to helping you with your P Power exam prep, Chris. And once again, many congratulations and thanks a lot for your time.
awesome. Thanks, Wasim.
Thank you. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. On a weekly basis, I'm creating content for FE Electrical and P Power exam preparation. I also discuss topics related to electrical engineering with a focus on power systems engineering. If you'd like to learn more about my FE Electrical and P Power exam preparation programs, please visit my website, StudyforFE.com.